That was Master and Servant by Depeche Mode. Chris Cordani here, and with me on Revenge of the 80s Radio is Alan Wilder, a former member of the band, now with Recoil, which has some new music out, a brand new CD just released earlier this year. It's called Selective. Alan, welcome to Revenge of the 80s Radio.
Hi Chris, how are you?
Alan, you joined Depeche Mode back in '82 after answering a classified ad. Did you think that little print space would have led to the career you have now?
I don't think anyone could have thought that, could they really? I mean, the pop world is not known for being, having a lot of longevity. So, no, I didn't expect that, of course, But I'd been in and out of quite a lot of different bands over the years, and this one was making a bit of money, so I thought, well, I'll give that one a go.
What's this about me reading you had to lie a bit about your age on this one?
Well, for some reason in the advert they said must be under 21. Why they wanted that requirement, I never really found out, but me being 22 at the time, I thought, well, it's close enough, isn't it?
See, nowadays in America, a lot of younger bands need to have somebody who's over 21 in the band so they can buy beer for the after-concert parties.
I remember when we first came to the States and being shocked when we walked into a bar somewhere, I think it was San Francisco or somewhere like that, and being refused, beer. It was unheard of where we came from, and we just couldn't understand it.
So you needed to have the guy over 21 for that one.
Yeah, but I looked about 17. That's the problem, and I didn't have my passport with me.
You've been involved with several projects before Depeche Mode, Alan. Talk about some of them.
Well, they were just I was just in and out of bands. We were all kind of struggling a bit. We paid our dues, did lots of gigs up and down England to not many people, tried to get record deals. And we succeeded getting a few record deals, some of those bands, but we never really got the success. But it was very good grounding for me. I mean, it's just, it taught me a bit about what you need to do, really, to sort of survive. And consequently, I think it was good for me because when I did end up being in a more successful group and having a good music career, I was able to, and still do, appreciate it,
You did get a taste of the top 20 with the Corgis and the hit If I Had You.
I was roped in, I think, to play on that track. That was a strange one, really. It was kind of a session. I used to do quite a few sessions in those days. In fact, I started off working in a recording studio as a tape op assistant. And I would inevitably find myself playing on the records rather than sort of operating the equipment in the control room because I couldn't resist, getting involved and asking people if I could play along. I mean, that's my real passion was the music and not so much the recording of it,
Well, you worked with several bands before joining Depeche Mode, and the Corgis, of course, being one of them. What were some of the more interesting projects pre-Depeche Mode?
Well, I was in a band called the Hitmen. We had a couple of hits. Given the name, I suppose we should have done, really. Bates Motel was one of them. I was in a band called Reel to Reel. This was a white reggae group. This was all around the time of just after punk, when all the new wave bands were appearing. So I was in and out of quite a few dodgy new wave bands. The Dragons, that was a more soft rock. That was really early on. That was when I was about 17. And I moved down to Bristol from London to join them. But none of these things lasted more than sort of 6 months to a year. And as I say, we kind of struggled and everyone ended up going their separate ways as we weren't making enough money and that kind of thing. So it was all good grounding for me. I survived, as I said, by just having the odd session with some, studio work here and there. And my name got around a little bit and people would ask me to do things. And then I myself was kind of out of work, no money, and I saw this advert for Depeche Mode. And as we said, must be under 21. So I lied and went off to the audition. Had to play along to New Life and Just Can't Get Enough, which wasn't too taxing, to be honest, especially because I'd had a kind of classical upbringing, so it was kind of very simple stuff. They gave me the job.
That's what people should know. You have been trained classically as a keyboardist, or I should say pianist. You had your chance to really be a concert pianist, I suppose, back in the day. So what made you want to get into the more popular, or let's say electronic music, as opposed to classical piano?
That's a difficult one to answer. I mean, what goes through a teenager's mind, that sort of kind of twist your viewpoint on everything? And that's hormones, I think it is, isn't it? Raging hormones at 15, tied up with girls and football and everything else. I don't know. I just found, I found myself listening to pop music and all the music that was around at the time, glam rock, and then I researched back into blues and in fact discovered the Beatles and going back further still, and I just thought this is more interesting for me. I had two older brothers that played the piano, and they were both very much in the classical scene, and still are. But I just felt I wanted to do something much more different.
With me is Alan Wilder. He is my guest on Revenge of the 80s Radio, former keyboardist from Depeche Mode, and he's the creator of Recoil. Straight ahead, we'll talk more about Recoil. I'm Chris Cordani. This is Revenge of the 80s Radio.